If you're a Shopify store selling supplements, skincare, cosmetics, fragrances, basically any product that is consumable, then this video is for you. Because you see, your biggest competitors are the ones that can afford to spend the most amount of money to acquire a customer, and as a result, they're probably squeezing you out the market or forcing you to scale at break even, and as a result, you might be pushing big numbers, but the profit simply isn't there. Because the real profit comes from the same customers coming back to your store, buying again, and again. And that's why email marketing is one of the most powerful tools for replenishable brands, because instead of hoping and praying that your customers are going to come back and purchase again, you can actually automate the entire process so that you can get them to repeat purchase and reorder your products without even thinking about it. This is video 2 of a 4-part mini-series where I'm covering how email and SMS marketing varies based on the niche and the type of product that you guys have. Previously, we covered luxury or higher ticket / average order value brands. In this video, we're going to cover replenishables. The next one, we're going to be talking about fashion and apparel. And finally, brands who have seasonality behind them, meaning that your revenue fluctuates a ton season to season. And I'll be covering exactly how your email strategies should adapt to each type of brand. So yeah, let's get into it. Today, I'm gonna break down exactly how to print money on autopilot for any replenishable brand out there. You see, replenishable products are one of the lowest friction niches for repeat purchases. Because fundamentally, your customers should already know that they need more of the same product. Because think about it like this, right? Every single supplement that you've bought, you went into it with the expectation of, I should probably take this long term, right? However, what ends up happening, the bottle of supplement arrives to your front door and it just sits in the cupboard for about like 8, 9, 12 months. And you might take it for a few days, but it's never consistent, right? And as a result, you don't become a returning buyer of that brand. Which kind of brings me to the biggest mistakes that I see replenishable brands make, is that they just assume that when someone purchases from you, the customer is gonna love it, use it, and come back later, when that is not gonna be the case. And that is why emails are so critical and an absolute must to dial in to the T when it comes to your marketing. Because you see, having the right email systems in place will mean that you're sending those replenishment reminders, leading to more sales because people don't have to think about restocking, they're reminded every single time. You're gonna have lower churn rates on your actual subscriptions because people are actively utilizing the products in the intended time frame. And as a result, you're gonna be able to upsell people to bundles, high average order value products, giving them more add-ons, giving them complementary products, upgrading them to subscriptions. Why? Because they are using the item in the first place. For one of our clients, for example, when they came in, their returning customer rates were 23%. Within a 6-month period, we were able to increase that to 43% of their total revenue. And the strategies I used for them are the exact playbook that I'm about to lay out to you right now. So if you don't have the attention span over the next 10 minutes, then you're just gonna miss out on a ton of LTV for your brand. So let's get into it. First things first is the flow aspect of things, right? In terms of your replenishment reminder flows. From a content perspective, it's actually relatively straightforward. Like you can just use like subject lines like, it's about time to restock, running low ? That kind of stuff. The CTA is basically just like one click to reorder. Maybe you can preload it into their carts or send them directly to checkout if you're using Funnelish or like Checkout Champ or something along those lines. But the point is, the content aspect is not the hardest part. The hardest part, and this is the part that people miss out on, is they time it incorrectly. So typically, if you've taken every single email course out there like I have, right, and just seen what's available on the educational market as well as tapped into the SOPs of the top email agencies, you'll see that generally speaking, what they do is they set up a 25 delay after placed order, because the idea is if you're selling a 30-day supply, people are getting reminded on day 25 to order now before their supply actually runs out, right? The problem with doing it that way is because you're basically making the foolish assumption that your customers are going to take the product on schedule, and also that your products are arriving on time without delays for every single customer, right? Whereas in reality, whether you're selling skincare, whether you're selling makeup, whether you're selling supplements, everyone consumes at a different rate. Because, for example, I consume skincare really quick because why? I have a big ass head. But I consume something like supplements really, really slow because I would order it and I just don't really care. I forget, or like I don't really like the taste, so it ends up sitting somewhere on the other side of my house and I just never end up taking it. And I'm sure you can find like your own personal stories like that also. Because even if you're selling a 30-day supply of a supplement, let's say you're selling vitamin D plus K2, which is a pretty trending product right now, that singular bottle might be shared between the entire household, right? So even if people are purchasing like a 90-day supply on the front end, that might be finished by day 35 if it's a household of 3 sharing it and taking it consistently. The point I'm trying to make is you want to time your flows to go out on a longer time horizon as opposed to focusing on the expected replenishment cycles. So what we do is, rather than doing it in the traditional way of just having a 25-day delay and then having maybe 2 or 3 emails spaced out in the period of a whole week, instead we have an email go out on day 25, we have another one go out on day 28, we have another one go out on day 35, 45, 50, 65, 80, 90, etc. So we basically have regular reminders for people to repeat purchase, and we just remove people as they buy from the flow so that they're not continuing down that replenishment reminder messaging. Doing this straight away helps every single one of our supplement clients lift their returning customer rates directly. The next is having correct win-back flows to bring back lapsed customers. Again, delays are super important, right? Because traditionally, most people, what they do with win-back flows is they have a 75 delay after placed order or a 90-day delay, whatever course you took, it's gonna be one of those two. And you basically send like a plain text email with a crazy offer straight away and then just hoping and praying that people come back. But what happens is those flows, and you can check this inside of your account as well, they're gonna carry a 0.1 to 0.3 conversion rate. Not ideal, right? And that's because, in my opinion, they don't necessarily tailor the angle to the product that they're selling. For example, most of the content that are being sent is generic offers to get people to reorder. However, you need to treat it as like another sales process starting from scratch. Why? Because during that 90-day window, you might have accidentally excluded them from campaigns, or like your ads didn't reach them, or because of social media reach, your posts are automatically suppressed on their social feeds. You see what I mean? So it's really important to re-educate and re-handle the objections that in order for them to make the purchase 90 days ago. For example, if you're selling, let's say, skincare, and your skincare didn't achieve the intended effects, you might want to plant some seeds in their head regarding, oh, maybe it's because you didn't use this long enough or stayed consistent with the routine. Or maybe it's because you were very kind of like on and off with these products, but also you combined it with others and you were kind of like just hopping around between different products, hoping to find your own that works for your skin type. Whereas if you had just stuck to our way of doing things, you would have achieved the desired outcome, right? So it's about rehandling those objections, maybe serving some additional social proof over the space of 2 to 3 emails. That's what's going to ultimately lead to a higher conversion rate when it comes to your win-back sequences. The next thing is incorrectly angling upsells and cross-sells. So one of the best times to get people to reorder is right after they've placed the order with your brand. Why? Because that's when they're the most excited. They probably have some things left in their cart that they had to remove because it was just, they didn't want to get too crazy with spending. This is the perfect time to upsell them into complementary products. So earlier with the vitamin D plus K2 example, K2 really enhances the effects of vitamin D because it helps with absorption, right? So for example, if you weren't selling like a 2-in-1, you could sell the vitamin D front end, but then on the back end, upsell the K2. Now, the mistake that most brands make is you've seen like how to structure post-purchase upsell videos. You've seen all of this, right? But the true killers are able to find logical sales arguments as to why the customer should purchase now and why it's in their best interest to do so. Let me give you an example. Right now in your email flows, most likely what you're saying in the post-purchase is something along the lines of like, oh, for a limited time, because you just ordered, we can add this to your order at no additional cost to shipping with a major discount because, you know, we're able to save on shipping costs or something like that, right? But in reality, how that's actually going to be perceived is like, yeah, that's nice of you, brand, but I feel like it's just a money grab, right? And it is, let's be real, right? But how can you actually position this in a way where it actually makes sense to the consumer? It's when you say that, hey, by the way, we're gonna sell this product to you, which is complementary to the thing that you already bought at cost. It's the at cost part that makes the intent feel more genuine and allows you to do the crazy 50% off, 70% off, whatever, at like clearance prices. Obviously, you're gonna have margin in whatever discount you're selling at, but the logical justification as to why you're selling at break even is because the reason why you want your customer to have this product is because it's gonna enhance the benefits of the main product that they bought, and as a result, they're gonna come back for more. You see what I mean? You basically create a win-win scenario in your customer's mind as to why they should buy this additional product or this complementary add-on. If you angle it like that, you're gonna have a 5 to 10% conversion rate on your post-purchase upsells through emails. We've tested this a bunch. It works really well. And lastly, in terms of the flows, is your customer thank you flow. Every brand has this. It's basically like a heartfelt founder's letter that's like, oh yeah, like thank you very much for buying from our brand, you're a really valued customer, here's a story of how we built our brand. But the truth is, when it comes to consumable products, what you ultimately want to optimize for, yes, you want to tell a bit of story and that kind of stuff, but in your customer thank you sequence is you want to keep people informed at every stage of the delivery cycle, because as soon as they buy, until they get it, the level of like warmness they have for the product is slowly diminishing, right? And you want to try to keep it as a flat line as much as possible, because when they actually get the product, if they're super cold, they're not even gonna use it. That part I can guarantee you, right? So your customer thank you sequence should really be used to hype the customer up about receiving their product, as well as educate them on how to use it, as well as the benefit timelines. So having graphics around, hey, this is what you're gonna experience days 0 to 30, 30 to 60, 60 to 90, so on and so forth, is really gonna increase your product utilization rate. In fact, I can tell you how I learned this strategy, and it's not one that I personally developed. I actually ripped this from a supplement brand that managed to keep me on subscription for like 8 months. It's this brand called Heights out of the UK, and one of the graphics that they actually had that I thought was so clever was they had a graphic that basically is like a little roadmap of your own health journey. And on day 0 to 30, they showed a guy who was like a little bit more energetic. And then the next one was the guy with like healthy gut health. And third one was they feel like mentally more clear, higher IQ, those types of graphics. And then like day 180, 360, whatever. They basically painted all of the benefits that you get to unlock with consistency of taking this product. I looked at the concept on, I think it was one of their blog articles or something. And I was like, this is actually genius. We should incorporate it on the emails for supplements, consumables in general, and that kind of stuff, all of the clients that we work with. And that singular thing works incredibly well. Messages like that is what you should ideally be trying to convey in your customer thank you sequences, as opposed to like establishing more social proof with the customer and that kind of thing. Optimizing these things will directly affect your lifetime value as well as your net profit. Because earlier, remember when I said the biggest brands can afford to spend the most to acquire their customer? For example, brands like Manscaped are consistently losing like tens and hundreds of $1 million a year, but they're still able to be a $1 billion company. Why? Because they know for a fact that every dollar that they spend, they're gonna make more over the long term. And if you, as an e-commerce brand, can actually learn how to maximize your lifetime value or work with someone like us to do it for you, it's really gonna allow you to unlock the ability to scale your ads way more. Because here's what happens when your email strategy is done right. you're gonna have much higher retention on your customers, allowing you to get repeat sales without ad spend, without posting on social media, basically without any real effort, which allows you to have more predictive revenue because you know for a fact that your revenue will not fall below a certain baseline because you're gonna have the repeat buyers on a monthly basis coming back, either through one-off purchases or even like subscriptions, for example. And lastly, you're gonna have much higher brand loyalty because imagine, right now, if you look on your Facebook ads libraries, frequency column, you'll see like exactly how many times the average person is going to be seeing your ads. And that frequency, let's be real, unless you're a 9-figure brand spending in a medium-sized market, your frequency is not going to be more than like 1.5 to 3 or 4 maximum, right? Whereas on the email side of things, if we're sending 15 campaigns plus they're probably receiving, let's say 5 flow emails, they have 20 individual opportunities to see your brand. And provided obviously we maintain your open rate and it stays around that like 40-50% type of range, you're essentially getting the people who are most interested in your brand to see your ads and marketing material 8 to 10 times every single month, very, very predictably and accurately. You see the difference on why you would want to have ads as well as really, really dialed in emails. So if you're a replenishable Shopify brand owner watching this and you're like, damn, like, not gonna lie, I've really neglected my emails. Like, you should book a call with my team. We'd love to run a completely free audit on your account, give you the exact strategy that we would implement for you, as well as very realistic targets and deadlines for my team to achieve inside of your account. And we'd love to have you as a client. See you in the next one. Hope you enjoyed.